Be prepared. This weekend is about to shatter every rule you thought defined love, and most people have no idea what's coming. We're standing at the edge of one of the most provocative astrological events of the entire year, a cosmic collision that's going to expose the truth about what you really want versus what you've been pretending to want. Tomorrow, something rare shifts, and by Sunday morning, a square between Venus and Black Moon Lilith will detonate in the sky, unleashing desires you've been suppressing, fantasies you've been denying, and truths about your relationships that can no longer stay buried. This isn't just another full moon. This isn't just another planetary transit. This is the universe asking you one brutal question. Are you brave enough to want what you actually want? And if you've been feeling strangely restless in your relationship lately, like something's missing but you can't name it, keep watching. Because there's one specific reason this is happening to you right now, and I'll explain exactly what it is later in this video. So stay tuned. But first, you need to understand what's happening right now, literally today as you're watching this, because the stage is already being set, and ignoring it isn't an option. Today changes everything. Saturn enters Aries. Right now, as you're reading this, we're hours away from one of the most significant astrological shifts of the decade. Tonight, at 7 at night, Saturn, the planet of structure, karma, and hard lessons, leaves the soft, dissolving waters of Pisces and enters the raw, pioneering fire of Aries. And here's what nobody's telling you. Saturn hasn't been in Aries since the late 1990s. This happens once every 29 years. Think about where you were in your life back then. Think about who you were. Because this transit is bringing back themes from that era, but you're not the same person anymore. Saturn in Aries is the cosmic disciplinarian of freedom. It sounds contradictory, doesn't it? How can discipline create freedom? But that's exactly the point. For the next 2.5 years, Saturn is going to demand that you build a life structure that honors your individual sovereignty, especially in relationships. The old model, the one where you sacrifice yourself to keep the peace, the one where you perform togetherness while losing yourself in the process. Saturn in Aries is about to dismantle that illusion, brick by brick. And this weekend is when the demolition begins. Because Saturn entering Aries today creates the backbone for what's about to happen on Sunday. It gives you permission, no, it gives you a mandate to put yourself first, to stop apologizing for your needs, to stop shrinking to fit into someone else's vision of who you should be. And when Venus squares Lilith on Sunday morning, that mandate becomes impossible to ignore. Something is awakening inside you, and it's not going to be quiet about it anymore. The cosmic collision nobody saw coming. Let's talk about Sunday, February 15th, the day everything shifts. At 1 at night, the moon slips into Aquarius, the sign of rebellion, detachment, and radical individuality. This is the first clue. The moon governs our emotional body, our instinctive reactions, our sense of comfort and safety. When the moon enters Aquarius, it cools the emotional temperature. It allows us to zoom out, to observe our feelings from a distance rather than drowning in them. And that emotional detachment, it's crucial for what happens next. Because at 7 in the morning, Venus, currently exalted in the dreamy waters of Pisces, forms a perfect 90-degree square with Black Moon Lilith in the truth-seeking fire of Sagittarius. Now, if you don't know astrology intimately, let me explain why this is explosive. A square is a crisis aspect. It's the universe creating friction, forcing action, demanding that you make a choice. It's not passive. It's not gentle. It's the cosmic equivalent of being backed into a corner where you have to fight your way out. And the entities involved, they couldn't be more opposite. Venus in Pisces is the exalted lover. She's the fantasy, the dream, the unconditional acceptance. She wants to merge completely, to dissolve all boundaries, to create that fairy tale love where two souls become one. Venus in Pisces is compassionate, forgiving, spiritual. She sees the best in everyone. She believes in redemption through love. Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius is the wild woman. She's the heretic, the truth-teller, the one who refuses to be tamed. She doesn't want to merge. She wants to remain sovereign. She doesn't want fairy tales, she wants raw, unfiltered truth. Lilith in Sagittarius would rather be an outcast living authentically than a beloved figure living a lie. When these two forces collide in a square, something has to give, and what gives is the illusion that you can have love without freedom, the illusion that being good means suppressing your wildness, the illusion that your forbidden desires are shameful rather than sacred. This square is the universe saying, you can't truly love if you're not truly free, and here's where it gets dangerous. Because forbidden desire in 2026 isn't what you think it is. What forbidden desire actually means, and why yours is surfacing now. When most people hear forbidden desire, they think of illicit affairs, scandalous attractions, taboo relationships. And yes, for some people, this transit will manifest that way, but that's surface level. The real forbidden desire that Venus square Lilith unleashes is deeper, more radical and more terrifying. It's the desire to be yourself in love. Think about it. How much of your relationship is performance? How much energy do you spend being the good partner, the understanding one, the person who doesn't rock the boat? How often do you swallow your truth to maintain harmony? How many times have you felt a flash of anger, lust, or wildness and immediately suppressed it because it didn't fit the narrative of who you're supposed to be? Venus in Pisces wants you to be the saint, the selfless, forgiving, endlessly compassionate partner who loves unconditionally. Lilith in Sagittarius wants you to be the sovereign, the uncompromising, truth-speaking, free agent who belongs to no one. This weekend, these two archetypes go to war inside your psyche, and the battlefield is your relationship. The forbidden part isn't necessarily about who you're attracted to, it's about what you're not allowed to want. Maybe it's the desire for more space, more independence, more adventure. Maybe it's the desire to be angry without having to immediately forgive. Maybe it's the desire to prioritize your own growth over your partner's comfort. Maybe it's the desire to leave. And here's what makes this weekend so volatile. You're not just feeling these desires, you're being given the cosmic permission to act on them. Saturn in Aries is structuring your courage, the moon in Aquarius is cooling your guilt, and on Monday morning, the sun squares Uranus, creating the lightning bolt moment where everything you've been suppressing suddenly erupts into action. Remember when I said if you've been feeling restless? This is why. Your soul has been preparing for this moment, the part of you that knows you can't keep living this way. It's been gathering strength, and this weekend, it's ready to speak. But not everyone will experience this the same way. 3 signs are positioned uniquely to transform this tension into love freedom. And if you're one of them, your life is about to change. Sign 1, Pisces, the saint who becomes the sinner. Pisces, let's be honest, you've been playing a role, haven't you? With Venus transiting your first house of identity right now, you are the embodiment of the perfect partner. You're magnetic, alluring, deeply romantic. People are drawn to your softness, your empathy, your ability to make them feel seen and accepted. You are the dream. But Black Moon Lilith squaring you from your 10th house of career and public image is revealing something uncomfortable. You're trapped by your own reputation. Everyone sees you as the sweetheart, the healer, the one who forgives, the one who gives endlessly, and you've built your entire identity around being that person. But underneath, there's a part of you that's tired of being soft, a part that wants to be powerful, controversial, even difficult. Your forbidden desire this weekend is to shatter your own pedestal. Maybe it's the desire to pursue someone who would scandalize your friends. Maybe it's the urge to blow up a relationship everyone thinks is perfect because you're suffocating inside it. Maybe it's the need to be seen as complicated, messy, human, not just the endless source of unconditional love. Here's what's happening. Lilith in your 10th house is asking, who are you when you're not performing goodness? And Venus in your first house is terrified to find out. But Sunday's square forces the confrontation, and Monday's Sun-Uranus square in your 12th house of the subconscious acts as a psychic jailbreak. Suddenly the masks fall away. Suddenly you can't pretend anymore. Your love freedom comes from realizing that you don't have to be a martyr to be loved. The people who only love your nice side don't actually love you. They love their fantasy of you. This weekend, with Saturn entering your second house of self-worth, you're being asked to value your complexity over your compliance, to set boundaries that shock people, to prioritize your truth over their comfort. The universe is giving you permission to be a little bit dangerous, to want things that don't fit the narrative, to love yourself enough to stop performing perfection. Pisces, you find freedom by daring to be the villain in someone else's story, because the truth is, you were never the saint they needed you to be. You were always the wild ocean pretending to be a calm pond. Sign 2, Sagittarius, the caged wild horse. Sagittarius, you're the one carrying the Lilith energy directly right now. She's in your first house of self, which means you are the embodiment of the forbidden, the wild, the untamable. But here's the problem. Venus is squaring you from your fourth house of home, family, and roots. You feel it, don't you? That suffocating pull toward domesticity. Maybe it's a partner who wants cozy nights in when you want to be out exploring the world. Maybe it's family obligations that anchor you to one place when your soul is screaming for movement. Maybe it's the emotional weight of a living situation that feels more like a trap than a sanctuary. Your forbidden desire is simple and terrifying. You want to run. Not metaphorically, literally. You want to pack a bag, leave the nest, and reclaim your freedom. The taboo here is that you're supposed to want stability. You're supposed to value home and family and commitment. But right now, those things feel like chains. Venus in the fourth house is pulling you toward emotional security, toward building a foundation with someone, toward putting down roots. But Lilith in your first house is screaming, "I am not a houseplant. I am a wild horse." This weekend, the tension becomes unbearable. You might find yourself picking fights over nothing just to create the friction that justifies your need to leave. Or you might find yourself fantasizing about a completely different life, one where you're free to wander, to explore, to answer to no one. Here's your love freedom. You find it by realizing that a home that acts as a cage is not a home, it's a prison. With Saturn entering your fifth house of romance and creativity, you're being asked to structure your life around your joy and passion, not your domestic duties. This is a 2.5-year transit. You have time to build something new. But it starts this weekend with the courage to admit, this isn't working. Maybe you don't literally leave. Maybe instead you fundamentally alter your living arrangement. Maybe you reclaim a room as your sanctuary. Maybe you take solo trips. Maybe you bring someone new into your home who represents your wildness rather than your domestication. The point is, you stop apologizing for your need for space. You stop shrinking to fit into someone else's vision of what home should look like. Sagittarius, your freedom is not a luxury, it's your oxygen. And this weekend, you remember that you'd rather breathe alone than suffocate with company. Sign 3, Aquarius, the rebel who chooses themselves. Aquarius, you're in a unique position this weekend. The moon enters your first house on Sunday morning, lighting up your identity. The sun is already in your sign, about to square Uranus in your fourth house. You are the center of the storm. But the Venus-Lilith square is hitting you in a different way. Venus is in your second house of values and self-worth, while Lilith is in your 11th house of community and friendship. Here's what's happening. You're feeling alienated from your tribe. You're the sign of the collective, the humanitarian, the one who fights for everyone's freedom. But right now, Lilith in your 11th house is making you the black sheep of your own friend group. Maybe your values are shifting. Maybe you're interested in someone your friends hate. Maybe you're pursuing a path that makes no sense to the people who thought they knew you. Your forbidden desire is to defect, to choose your own self-worth, Venus in second, over the approval of your community, Lilith in 11th. This is hard for you because belonging matters to Aquarius. You value your friendships, your networks, your sense of being part of something bigger. But what happens when being part of the group requires betraying yourself? Venus in the second house is asking, what do I actually value? And the answer might be something that your friends don't understand or support. Maybe it's a relationship that defies the code of your social circle. Maybe it's a choice that makes you seem selfish in their eyes. This weekend, with the moon activating your identity and Saturn entering your third house of communication, you find your voice. You find the courage to say, "I don't care what you think." Your love freedom comes from detachment, not from people, but from the need for their approval. You shock your own system, Sun-Uranus, by making a choice that is purely for you, not for the collective, not for the greater good, for you. And here's the paradox. In choosing yourself, you actually become more aligned with your true purpose. Because Aquarius is meant to be the visionary, the one who sees beyond the current paradigm. But you can't lead a revolution if you're still bound by the opinions of the status quo. Aquarius, you usually fight for everyone else's freedom. This weekend you fight for your own, and in doing so you become the example your community actually needs. What about the other signs? You're not off the hook. If you're not Pisces, Sagittarius or Aquarius, don't think this weekend passes you by. The Venus-Lilith square affects everyone. It just manifests differently depending on where it lands in your chart. Aries, Saturn just entered your sign. You're sobering up, getting serious about who you are. The Venus-Lilith square hits your 12th and 9th houses. A secret fantasy clashes with your beliefs. You might realize a hidden connection is incompatible with the new, disciplined person you're becoming. Taurus, Uranus in your sign squares the Sun. High volatility. Venus and Lilith activate your friendship and intimacy sectors. A friend may become a lover, or a deep secret about money or sex might surface. Embrace the chaos. Gemini, Venus in your 10th house squares Lilith in your 7th. Your partner is threatening your professional image, or you desire someone who doesn't fit your brand. Freedom comes from integrating your public and private selves. Cancer, you're feeling the push-pull between expansion, Venus in 9th, and daily grind, Lilith in 6th. You want to escape, but Saturn in your 10th says build a career that allows freedom instead of just dreaming about it. Leo, this is intensely erotic for you. Venus in the 8th house of sex squares Lilith in the 5th house of romance. The forbidden desire is for a sexual experience that defies your romantic rules. Deep, transformative intimacy is calling. Virgo, Venus in your 7th house squares Lilith in your 4th. Your partner clashes with your family or living situation. You're being forced to choose, and freedom comes from establishing boundaries with family to protect love. Libra, Saturn enters your 7th house. Relationships get serious. Venus in your 6th squares Lilith in your 3rd. A work spouse dynamic or daily flirtation challenges your committed partnership. Honest communication is key. Scorpio, Venus in your 5th squares Lilith in your 2nd. A clash between romantic fun and your self-worth or money. You might desire someone bad for your wallet, or you're realizing you're selling yourself short in love. Demand your worth. Capricorn, Saturn enters your 4th house. Home foundations shift. Venus in your 3rd squares Lilith in your 12th. A subconscious secret wants to be spoken. Freedom comes from saying the taboo truth, even if it shakes everything. Every sign is being tested. Every sign is being asked to examine the gap between who they pretend to be in love and who they actually are. The lightning strike, what happens Monday morning? If Sunday is the pressure cooker, Monday is the explosion. At 12 at night on February 16th, just hours after the Venus-Lilith square reaches exactitude, the Sun in Aquarius forms a precise square with Uranus in Taurus. The Sun represents your conscious ego, your identity, the story you tell yourself about who you are. Uranus represents sudden change, shocking revelations, liberation from the past. When they square, your identity gets electrocuted in the best way possible. This is the trigger that ensures all the internal tension of Sunday doesn't just stay internal. It manifests, it becomes real, it creates consequences. This is the text message sent in anger that you can't take back. The sudden decision to move out, the confession that changes everything, the choice that seemed impossible on Saturday but feels inevitable on Monday. This is the moment the protagonist does something out of character that's actually completely in character. They were just too afraid to show it before. And here's what makes this weekend a perfect storm. You have Saturn in Aries giving you the backbone, the Moon in Aquarius giving you the emotional detachment, Venus Lilith giving you the desire, and Sun Uranus giving you the courage to act. It's like the universe lined up every domino perfectly, and Monday morning it flicks the first one. The aftermath, who you'll be on the other side. Here's what nobody tells you about transformative astrological events. The change doesn't feel dramatic in the moment, it feels inevitable. You won't wake up on Monday feeling like you've made a mistake. You'll wake up feeling like you finally stopped lying to yourself. The people who experience love freedom this weekend won't be those who made reckless, impulsive choices. They'll be the ones who made honest choices. The ones who stopped performing a version of love that was killing them and started honoring the truth of who they are. For some, that means ending a relationship. For others, it means radically restructuring one. For others still, it means finally pursuing the person they've been denying they want. But regardless of the specific action, the feeling will be the same: relief. Relief that you don't have to pretend anymore. Relief that the secret is out. Relief that you chose yourself. Because here's the ultimate truth of the Venus-Lilith square. You cannot give real love from a caged heart. All the Venus in Pisces compassion and selflessness in the world means nothing if it's coming from someone who's betraying themselves. The love you give while suppressing your truth is not love. It's a transaction. It's a performance. It's a desperate attempt to be worthy by being good, but Lilith doesn't want you to be good. She wants you to be real. And real love, the kind that's sustainable, the kind that actually nourishes both people, can only come from a place of freedom. From a place where you're allowed to want what you want. Where you're allowed to be complicated, messy, contradictory. Where you're allowed to have edges. This weekend breaks the cage, and yes, it's terrifying, yes, it might hurt, yes, people might be shocked or disappointed or angry, but you'll be free. And freedom, true freedom, is the foundation of any love worth having. This is your moment, don't waste it. The cosmic weather doesn't get this charged very often. The convergence of Saturn entering Aries, Venus square Lilith, and Sun square Uranus all within 72 hours. This is rare. This is significant. Most people will feel the tension and suppress it. They'll white-knuckle their way through the weekend, convince themselves it's just stress, and go back to their usual patterns on Tuesday. But you're not most people. You're here, watching this, reading this, because some part of you knows this is important. So don't waste it. Don't let fear convince you that your desires are shameful. Don't let guilt keep you in a situation that's suffocating your soul. This weekend, the universe is giving you permission to want what you want, to be who you are, to choose freedom over performance. The only question is, are you brave enough to take it? If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.